Okay.
Recording in progress. Episode 35,
Yes.
aging, part two. I wanted to bring up, you know me, every once in a while, quote, article, something's going to happen. And I
Hmm.
started an article today
Okay.
and I got to finish it. And the title is The Tyranny of Stuff.
Okay. Are they referring to like baggage or things in your home?
Okay. So this all came from this man who was a poet and he actually worked for Harvard. I think he was Irish. I think his name is like Eugene Heaney, whatever.
Okay.
And he wrote like a ton of essays. He wrote poems, but also a bunch of essays. And but he would write letters to his friends because this was back in like the 20s and 30s, right?
Yeah.
And he would write letters to his friends and he'd be like, oh my gosh, I wrote 32 essays today. I have 32 more I have to write. But I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do this. And so the tyranny of stuff
Hmm.
is, and this goes along with aging,
Hmm.
all of those little things we have to do on a daily basis
Okay.
that are stuff
Hmm.
that keep us from really enjoying life and being present, which
Mm.
are things like, I have to make that doctor's appointment.
Hmm.
I have to renew my registration.
Hmm.
I have to pay this bill. I have to sign my kids up for this summer camp. If I don't do it today, I'm going to lose the spot, right? Like
Right.
it's the tyranny of stuff. It's the things that actually occupy your mind
Right.
more
Yeah.
than than real like life enjoying moments.
Hmm.
So it's the tyranny of stuff. It's like tonight I got to take my garbage out. Tomorrow's garbage day, right?
Hmm.
And this is what occupies your mind. Like, cause you're like, oh shit, I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it yet. Got to take the recycling out. Crap, crap.
Right.
Like it's the tyranny of stuff. And
So
as I
has he talked about how to balance that out yet?
I haven't read the entire thing,
Okay.
and don't forget, this guy was from like the 20s and 30s.
Yeah. Which
So
that's what I think is fascinating because I mean, what level of stuff was happening? I mean, there's things that there's always stuff, but I mean, is it more now? I would think so.
I would think it's more now, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so this stuff that we place importance on,
Hmm.
right? Got to get my garbage out on time. Oh shit, my neighbors already have theirs out. It makes me look bad. I gotta get that out.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
like all the things we do to ourselves
Uh-huh.
over little these little things,
Yeah.
and they occupy so much space in our mind
Yeah, a lot of space.
that at the end of the day, we go to bed because we're exhausted from it,
Hmm.
and we don't sit and think about what was I grateful for today,
Right.
right? What amazing thing happened to me or my kids or whatever that brought me joy, right?
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
get bogged down in the tyranny of stuff.
Yep.
And as you get older, so then we can get into aging, right? As you get older, you start to be like, well, I don't fucking care if I haven't taken the garbage out yet. I can go another week, right?
Yeah.
Like you start to shed, shed
Hmm.
the stuff
Or
that
prioritize better because the stuff doesn't go away.
right or prioritize better, right?
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
I'm super interested in reading it. There's a lot of historical stuff about this guy's position, how he was a poet, and like all the stuff that I have to like slog through to get to the to the
Yeah.
real, point of the article. But it makes sense, right?
Hmm.
Like think about just your daily life. I mean,
Hmm.
everybody does it, right? Like I have to pick up the dry cleaning. Oh gosh, there's laundry in the washing machine and I have to move it to the dryer and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
occupies your time. And it occupies your time. And it
Hmm.
occupies your time to the point where you're not looking out your front window and saying, oh my God, the snow is so beautiful, right? Because
Mhm.
that seems frivolous.
Right.
But those moments are just as important as navigating the stuff,
Yeah, maybe
right?
more. Yeah.
You got to find the balance. I mean, have you ever had in your life, and I'm sure have you ever had one of those days or just a moment in a day where you sit and you go, everything is perfect right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Sure.
everything is perfect. And it could just last for 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, you're like, wow,
Yeah. Yeah, we
everything's
call
perfect.
those like you want to take a snapshot. We call them
You want to take
snapshot
a
moments.
snapshot.
Yeah.
And I think that that comes from, they talk about mindfulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about
Yeah.
mindfulness. We talk about living in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So hard for people to do
Mm-hmm.
because of the tyranny of stuff,
Yeah, the tasking.
the tasking. I can't sit and relax. I have to do this. I can't sit and relax. I have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we don't give ourselves license, really,
Mm-hmm.
to just sit or to just enjoy or to say to ourselves, I'm really enjoying this. And this is really working for me. And I'm not overtaxing myself. And I'm really like in the moment. I should do this more often, right? Like it's kind of like when people have New Year's resolutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year I'm going to be more mindful. This year I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to take better care of myself. This year I'm going to do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as you know, the second Friday in January is called quitting day because that's when everyone quits their resolutions.
They're like,
It
never
lasts
mind. Yeah.
like 10 to 12 days, right?
Yeah,
Because
that
everything
sounds
else
about
takes
right.
over.
Mm-hmm.
The tyranny of stuff.
Yeah, I avoid the gym this time of year.
I just saw an article today about people are like regular gym goers who hate January.
I don't, yeah,
They're
it's
like,
annoying. Yeah.
all these
It's
people are
usually
there.
about mid-February, I'd say, where it completely thins
They,
out.
they start to tailor off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
did a month. I'm good. So aging, like we spoke about aging last week. And one thing I wanted to say in regard to aging and wisdom, like we talked about, and evolving and all that stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm just really loving like my head.
Turn your head to the side so I can see it better. Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks great. Do you think you're just not used to the length?
I love the length. I mean, Lynn, who is my stylist,
Uh-huh.
um, the last time I went for her to do my color, because that's necessary, I was like, I go, I'm really loving the length. And she goes, really? I'm not. I was like, thanks, Lynn. But like Lynn has full jurisdiction over me. I'm like, you want to cut it? Cut it. You want to dye it? Dye it. I don't even care because it's hair. Who cares? But it was just so funny because I was like, oh, I'm really liking it. She's like, yeah, no, I'm
Not
not.
so much.
She was next time. No. She was next time, French bob, chop it off, full bangs. That's what we're doing. I was like,
Well, bangs are back, baby.
I usually have bangs, but
Yeah.
they've grown out. I trust Lynn with my life. So I'll be like,
That's a
next
whole
time
lot
you
of
see me,
alliteration. So Lynn with my life, alliteration, and bangs are back, baby. That's a whole lot of, yeah.
but she's great because I'm like, my life is in your hands, Lynn. I'm like, go for it. So the next time I might have up to here with full bangs and hopefully I look like a French movie star. So what I wanted to say, in regards to like some of the stuff we were talking about last time,
Hmm.
wisdom, aging, evolving, like we talked about, um, not giving a fuck anymore or
Hmm.
not people pleasing or whatever. But another thing that I really wanted to focus on was as you get older, you also recognize your own worth. Okay.
Yeah.
Recognize your own worth.
Yeah. You know,
Um,
it's ringing a bell because I was talking to someone that was their, hmm, that was their New Year's thing.
recognize your worth, right? We
Yeah.
all have it.
Yeah.
We all have it. I
Yeah.
mean, that when this whole podcast started, before you came on board, my little catchphrase was "You matter,"
Yeah.
right? Like you matter. Everybody matters. Everybody
Mhm.
matters.
Mhm.
And you need to start believing that you do. And so when you recognize your worth,
Mhm.
and that happens, you also recognize um, who should be allowed in your life
Yes.
still and who shouldn't,
Who deserves you?
who
When
deserves
something
you.
has worth, then it's deserving. Yes.
And so you start to, some of us do, start to jettison some of the people
Mhm.
that don't really deserve to be there.
Well, it starts to just naturally happen too, because when you recognize your worth, your behavior changes,
Yep.
and the people that are accustomed to whatever dysfunctional behavior you were doing that was surrounding that lack of worth, it's not there anymore. So they're like, see ya, I'm not interested. Yeah.
And if they say see ya,
Goodbye.
then you let them go.
Yeah.
You let them go.
Uh-huh.
Um, you let them exit. You let them walk away. You start to realize that maybe um, you were an asset to them, or they were getting something from you.
Yep.
And when you decide not to do that anymore, if they leave because of that, then you let them go.
Yep. Yep.
Because even with friendships, not even romantic partnerships, even with friendships,
Yep.
it's not healthy.
No.
It's not
No.
healthy. I
No.
think we've all been involved in relationships that are one way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not
Yep.
two-way street, one way. And people who are who suck the life out of you,
Mm-hmm.
right? That
Yeah.
they call you when they're having an issue because you're going to listen and you're going to, let them trauma dump and you're going to listen and you're going to be there, but they're not there for you.
Right. Yeah.
So there's no reciprocity in
No.
that situation.
Yeah. I think that's one
And
of the big things that actually, that's a big one. Just the
it's a
concept
huge one.
of the one-sided stuff, and people start to realize when they get a sense of what they're worth, when that's also when you start to realize where you're being taken advantage of.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it's funny. I will share this. There were a number of relationships or friendships over the last few years
Mhm.
that I cut out of my life.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and some of them were long term. Some of them are long term. There
Mhm.
were things that were said
Mhm.
um, to me
Mhm.
that I found to be unforgivable,
Mhm.
and that I really don't know where they came from because it wasn't from behavior that I had exhibited because they were long-term friends, but they were long-term friends that it wasn't like we were in contact all the time,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
Maybe a couple times a year, right?
Okay.
Maybe a group text of Happy Mother's Day or a group text of Merry Christmas or something like
So
that.
then all of a sudden they come into this place of random judgment or something?
It was actually to me very surprising and pretty ugly.
Okay.
And so when it happened, and it was in like a group text.
Yeah.
And so I had found out something. I had found out that two of my very long time friends had kept in contact with my ex-husband.
Oh, wow.
And these were friends of mine that I had from high school.
Hmm.
And I'd found out that they had kept contact up with him, right? And so when I found this out from another party, I kind of like broached the subject.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, like, kind of heard this, was a little surprised, like I wasn't expecting that. Um, and their responses
Yeah.
were awful. They were awful. And from their responses, it was like my ex-husband was speaking through them.
Hmm.
And that's what they call social proof, right? Like they call that using social proof. So it's like he got to him.
Yeah, they
right?
drank his Kool-Aid. Yep.
He'd got to 'em. And these are people I knew for a long time. And so when that happened, I have the ability to cut people off at the knees.
Mhm.
And I've only learned that because of my situation, like with my ex-husband.
Mhm.
And so I dropped him.
Yeah.
I dropped him. And and I didn't feel it was a loss.
I think that's the most interesting point, is then you're like, well, I did that. Now how do I feel?
I honestly didn't feel any different.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't really affecting my life in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, but I'm glad I have the information. Um, and so I dropped him, right? Like I pulled back. I, left like the group text, like I like did the whole thing. And my ex-husband had sent me a letter not too long ago, as he is wont to do every once in a while. And he said in there, you know, you're persona non grata in Buffalo. And I was like, I am? Well, this is fun. I like to make an impact. And as you know, I'm moving, right? Like this coming year. He's
Mhm.
like, and when you move to that new town, you'll be persona non grata there as well.
Boy, I see, all that says to me is, boy, he is still so invested.
But here's my thing
Yep.
with aging and wisdom and evolving and experience.
Hmm.
When that situation happened and those words were said to me,
Hmm.
from what I've learned and experienced, it was so easy for me to be like, okay,
Hmm.
you're not my people anymore.
Hmm.
Right? Like they say that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Hmm. Hmm.
They were there for a season.
Well, part of his MO, and it goes back to worth, is that type of personality. They have to break down your worth so you buy into comments like that and you second guess yourself. So if your worth is intact, then that stuff just bounces off you. It doesn't matter.
And that's why it's so important because, like, I
It's
could
a
have,
shield, yeah.
yeah,
It
I mean,
protects you.
3 years ago, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
if I would have had this text exchange with them
Mhm.
and they would have said what they said, I would have been destroyed. I would have been a disaster for a week or two. I would have
Mhm.
been texting back, wait, what? What are you saying? Oh my God, what? And I was just like, okay, sounds good. Aloha. I mean, but that comes from, and this is so hard for people to do,
Yeah.
comes from loving yourself and it comes from recognizing your worth.
Yeah. It's and that it's and I the concept that knowing your worth is protects you. I can't emphasize that enough because you are susceptible to manipulation, um, all kinds of stuff if you are constantly second guessing what you are worth. Because if you are, and I really feel, call it self-esteem, call it whatever. If that's not intact, if that's intact, people can say whatever they want about you. They can come up and they can say whatever, and you're like, okay,
Yeah. You're like,
you know.
hey,
But
all
if
right.
if if the question is in your mind and you are chewing on your value, then you are going to be listening for you know, all those negatives, and you're going to be playing around with it and looking at it and going, well, maybe this is right. Maybe that, yeah, it's dangerous.
One of my favorite expressions, and I don't know who said it first. I don't know if it is an actual quote. I don't know where it came from. But one of my favorite expressions is, your opinion of me is none of my
It's none
business.
of my business. Yeah, I love that one too. You know what? And I don't, I, hold on, because now I want to know. Hold on, hold on. I wonder, because I
I
do
don't
want
really know if it's a famous quote. I just remember hearing it somewhere, but I don't know if it's attributed to anybody. It's probably Lucille Ball.
'If it is,
No, it's probably someone like, I don't even know,
Well,
Sharon
it's
Stone or
someone
something.
who has wonderful self-confidence. Oh my God, do you know who it is?
Who?
Eleanor Roosevelt.
She's so good.
I know.
Didn't
God
I quote her
damn.
once before?
You did. You did.
You cannot make me feel inferior without my consent.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
Eleanor
Yeah.
Roosevelt. Your opinion of me is none of my business.
Yeah. That was her. Yeah.
She's a genius. Does
She
she have an
is.
autobiography or a biography?
Oh, I'm sure.
I
I'm
feel like I need to read it.
yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Really.
Let's both of that. Let's do that.
We
I'll
could
find
start a
it.
book club.
They have to be audiobooks. I have no time to read.
I have no
However,
time for
for
that
no
shit.
apparent reason, like People magazine showed up at our house. Do they send you like trials or something? Why did that happen?
Did someone order it without telling you?
Uh, I do have people in my
Was it
life,
Jack?
despite my sense of worthiness, that would do that to me.
Was it Jack? Did Jack
Well, let
order
me
people?
ask you this. No. I think it's just one of those things you sign up for something and you don't know that you check the box that said, I'll do a trial of this. You just got to figure out
It's
where you're
such
being
crap. I mean, it's
billed.
entertaining crap, but it's crap.
I know. Okay, so what do you think, in all your wisdom and in your journey of aging, Ellen, do you think is your most worthy attribute?
Wow.
Yeah.
I kind of think I'm funny as hell. I mean, like, I kind of do. I mean, there are times I'm alone and I make myself laugh. And I'm not kidding. But like, no, I mean, like, okay, I'll say this. So, one thing I've always been told by people that I work with, or friends of mine, is that, you know, they're like, you're pretty funny. And I was like, well, I kind of think I am. But like, so we have this thing at work. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure other companies have this where we have this thing at work where you could recognize people um for like for a great performance or a great collaboration, or I loved working with you on this project, like stuff like that. And
Okay.
we have like company values, right?
Uh-huh.
And it'll say like, so and so, and we actually accrue money,
Oh,
and it actually goes on to like a visa. It's kind of cool.
that's
And
cool.
so it'll say like, so and so acknowledged you for the company value of, I don't know, like aiming true or working together or one by one, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then the comment from the person will be, I just love the fact that you make our meetings so funny. And I'm like, does anyone think I'm a good employee? Just all you. But I cannot tell you the number of like literally on this card that I have that accrues
Yeah.
the money, I had $154 on there before Christmas. And most of it because people were like, yeah, you keep our meetings funny. Like your humor is great. Like, and I'm like, okay, but I like do good work too,
Do I
right? Like, not,
contribute like at isn't
but
it
see,
weird
to
when
me,
a certain compliment then makes you question your worth?
but humor to me is so important,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I can't imagine going through an entire day without laughing about something. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't.
Mm-hmm.
And there are probably people out there that do, and I don't understand that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like when I talk to my sisters, when I talk to my mom, when my dad was still alive, like they're funny people.
Mm-hmm.
They're funny people. Like, I tell stories about my mom. I know I do it all the time. And it's so funny because I talked to her earlier
Mm-hmm.
and I immediately thought of you because we were on the phone and she was like, Ellen, wait until you hear. And I was like, oh my God, what's this name? She was like, all I wanted was a new tea kettle. Okay. That's all I
Oh boy,
wanted.
you start any story like that, anything could happen.
And I said, okay, so what's the crisis? And she was, I like my tea kettle to be on the stove. I like to put it on the burner. That is what I like. She's like, I went to a number of different stores in this area and they don't have those anymore. So I ordered one off Amazon and it came. And I was like, and it's
Okay.
not up to the specifications or like, and she was like, nope. She was like, there was no button to like hit. So the spout opens. It's like,
That
so I
that's
have to open the
fair.
spout myself. It's like, but Ellen, if I open the spout myself, I'm going to burn myself. Am I not? And I was like, but like,
Yes.
as she was going through this, I was totally thinking of you because I was like, here's another story. Here's another one. Here's another story. I said, well, mom, do you really still need to put your tea kettle like right on the burner? I'm like, because there are electric ones now that you plug in
Now
and they
you're
don't
now you're
have to.
going to the concept of aging and change. We talked about that last time. Yeah,
And I
don't be
said to
doing
her, and I said, I've got a great one here at my house. It's Hamilton Beach. It's a plug-in. It's wonderful. I go, maybe you need to change how you make tea.
that. Mm,
I don't want to.
I can't
I don't
imagine
want to
that
change
went
how I make
well.
tea. And I was
Yep.
like, here we
Yeah.
are. It was a perfect, but she was, I mean, clearly I was not laughing out loud, but I was laughing to
Right.
myself because it was such a diatribe about tea kettles and the state of tea kettles these days. And I was like, another perfect example. Seriously. And she made me laugh so hard, but I did not relay to her that I was laughing. But I was like, well, maybe we need to adjust how, you view making tea.
So you went into solution finding.
Absolutely not. Is that going to
Yeah,
happen?
don't do that. Your mom is you just, how old is she now?
85.
Wow.
You would never know it.
No.
Well, you met
Mm-mm.
her.
Yes.
Do you think she's
I would have
85?
not. No, no, I would have not have said that. Mm-mm.
When I snuck up on your conversation at my holiday party and she like, I walked up, she was like, I'm like, oh, I know you're saying something you shouldn't. I know you are. I know you are. I know you're saying something to Katie and you're going to act like you weren't, but I know you are. I mean, but it just makes me laugh because it is such a combination of all of it, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
she's funny as hell. She doesn't really mean to be,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, humor is what gets me through the day. What do you think yours is?
Well, I think you bring up an interesting point. Is it something I think or what people say? So that's what made me think. Um, One thing I find very worthy about myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I think people would say that, I don't know if they'd say this is the most worthy, but I do. I hold it in high regard, is I really can count in my adult life on one hand where I have told somebody I would do something and I didn't follow through. And you know that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And you can count on that. And if I can't, you'll get plenty of notice why. And I just have just always believed in that. And whether it's because nobody likes that, what it feels like because it's layered, right? If you don't do what you say you're going to do, it involves
Mm-hmm.
trust, it
Yep.
involves dependability, it involves, character, it's so layered. And yet by just doing that one thing consistently, it's so healing for yourself and for others. I can't tell you just in my job, when I would be training people, I go, look, you don't need to be the best therapist. You don't need to have the best skills. You can fuck up. I mean, but if you're going to be there, be there. And if you're
Gotta
not
be
going to be
reliable.
there, yeah. I mean, when I was working strictly with kids, I think I told you this story, you know, I had plenty of kids that wouldn't engage with me, but I had this one kid that was basically kind of just not talking at all to anybody. And
Mm-hmm.
I told him, okay, I'm going to be here every Wednesday, whatever it was at 3 o'clock. I'll be here every day, Wednesday at 3 o'clock. If I'm not here, um, I will let you know that, he didn't have a cell phone. I'd call the house, it was a
Right,
while
right,
ago.
right. Yeah.
Um,
The
and
good
it
old
will
days.
only be because either I'm deathly ill or, Jack was really little and Em was still little, or one of my kids are sick. That'll be it. If it's unexpected, that'll be it. So I showed up just like I did with every other client, showed up and I'd sit at the table with him. In the beginning, he didn't sit at the table with me, but I'd sit at the table. So it was the consistency. I sat in the same place every time. I showed up every time. Um, I did paperwork. I talked to him while I was doing stuff. He didn't say anything to me. But eventually, he started to sit at the table, and Pokemon cards were real big back then. So he'd bring his cards. He wouldn't say anything. And I think it took about 6 weeks, which is 6 times.
Mhm.
But I was probably the most consistent thing in his life at that point. And he started to talk, and we did some really great work together. But I just believe it's such a powerful thing, follow through with what you say you're going to do. I just hold that. I hold that it's high regard, and I really always try to live by that. And that also means don't promise things you can't do, which I don't.
Well, okay, so that say what you mean and mean
Hmm.
what you say,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, I have a real problem, really, with disingenuous people. I have a
Yes.
real problem with people who aren't authentic.
Hmm.
As I've gotten older, I have less and less and less tolerance for it.
Hmm. Hmm.
As I've gotten older, I um, have no problem calling it out,
Hmm. Hmm.
because one thing that I believe I am is extremely honest, and
Hmm.
maybe to a fault, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Hmm.
I'm incredibly direct. A lot of people don't like that.
Hmm.
I'm not going to stop being how I am.
Yeah, but then you have to examine why they don't like it. It's more interesting I find it more interesting with the people who don't like it.
They don't like it because it makes them uncomfortable, right?
Mm.
Like, I don't have a lot to hide. Okay. Like, and if anything, I mean, I could get myself in trouble with some of the things that I would share just being human.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know why we waste time on not being authentic. I don't know why we do that. And I think people waste time not being authentic is because they don't want people to know who they really are.
You got it.
Um, am I
It's a
perfect?
cover up. Hmm.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Do I have insecurities? 100%. Do I go down a hole every once in a while because of my insecurities? But then do I bring myself out? Yes, I do. And you know what? I can be honest about that as well, because it's the human condition.
Hmm.
Okay. It's the
Hmm.
human condition.
Hmm.
So if I say things like I think I made this comment way early on when you and I started this. I'm the person that'll say what everyone's thinking, and I'll get the fucking side eye. Like, Jesus, Ellen. I'm like, well, is anybody gonna fucking say it? We're all thinking it. I mean, like,
Give me
what's
an
the
example of
difference?
one of the most, give me an example of when you did that where it was the most unwanted. Like what happened?
Uh, I have to think. I'm sure I can pull up something from
All right,
recent.
that's your homework for
Okay,
next.
I did. No, I did. I will put it out there right now. I'll put it out there right now. I was interacting with a previous partner
Okay.
that I was in a loving relationship with.
Hmm.
Okay. It's just the other day. And he and I were going back and forth.
Okay.
And every once in a while, I give him unsolicited advice about his life.
Okay.
And he's had a girlfriend for like 2 years.
Okay.
Okay. And I said, I think you should marry her. Like, I think you should marry her because I think she works better for you than I did.
Hmm.
And like, but I also know that I'm the one you love.
What did he do?
Now, a lot of people would go, holy shit. Like, what did you say? But the thing is, I know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comments like that make people uncomfortable, right? To say something so baldly
Hmm.
like that
Hmm. Hmm.
makes people uncomfortable.
There's so many reasons
But
why
it's
that
not
would
a
make.
bad thing,
No, no. What was his
right?
response?
Oh, well, I also know him very well. And, of course, the response was, whatever you say, it was like
Yeah. Yeah.
humor, which
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can, I can totally
Yeah.
take. Um, but see, this is something that I really feel. Okay. So a lot of people, if I told them that I said that, would say, Jesus Christ, Ellen, like why would you even think that? Like, why would you like don't put yourself on a pedestal? Don't think that, well, because I know it. Like I know it here,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
know it here.
yeah, and it
And
has
people
nothing to
shy
do with
away
your
from saying
ego.
stuff
It's
like
just
that.
like you could have just as well been saying, yeah, go ahead and marry her, but I know you love Jane. I mean, it was, yeah, it would had nothing to do with you. It had to do with just the facts.
Well, I mean, it, it is the facts. And like, and totally possible to love two people at the same time, just not in the same way,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
As we know, it's like apples and oranges.
Hmm.
But I think sometimes people are stunned, maybe, when I relate it, when I'm talking to the person I'm talking to, who I
Hmm.
was involved with. But if I relay the story, I think people are like, Jesus, I would never say that. I'm like, well, that's great. You don't have to.
Right.
It's not your life. Um, like
Is for
and
you, when that truth is lying out there and it's so obvious, is it like an itch that has to be scratched? Is it like, oh my God, is it because the disingenuine, because the truth, not like pink elephant very much, but like that it's so obvious that it's almost painful?
you know what it is for me?
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't like to think about this either. The end of my life, whether that's tomorrow
Mhm.
or whether that's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? God
Mhm.
forbid it's not 40 years. I don't want to be in my fucking 90s.
Me either.
At the end of my life, I don't want to regret anything. I don't want
Mhm.
to say to myself, I should have said that. I should have done that. I should have made that note. I should have let that person know that, right? Because at the end of my life, I can't go back and correct it. So if it makes someone uncomfortable in the moment, or if it seems outrageous or crazy, like, I mean, the next day I said to him, I go, I can say the most outrageous things to you,
Mhm.
and you never, ever make me feel awkward about it.
Mhm.
And he responded, he goes, fire away. But I don't want to be the person at the end of my life who's like, oh, I should have said that. I don't care what the outcome is. I should have said it.
You know what? I'm
And
going to interject because as we're
sure,
talking about worthiness and how it has been your experience that people say it's your humor, I would say that is one of your most worthy characteristics
what?
is your honesty and your clarity and the fact that the reaction is irrelevant. Your intention is never to make, hurt someone's feelings or anything. But
No,
here's the thing. I I trust there. I'm trying to think how many people I actually 100% trust what comes out of their mouth. So you got to get platitudes out of the way. You got to get, I'm afraid I'm going to upset this person, like, all that stuff, right? All that stuff, like we were talking about earlier, that gets in the way before you open,
tyranny of stuff,
yeah, before
right?
you open your mouth. See, you don't have that. So I know that when you speak, I don't have to question anything. I don't have to play it in my head and go, ugh, let me double check that Ellen's okay because
What
I
does
don't
she
know.
mean by that? Right? Like,
Yes. So
it's
I would say, and maybe people's worthiness is,
not for everybody, I can tell you that
yeah, but
much.
I'll tell you, it really is dependent. So I think it's even more important what we find worthy. Do you find that as a worthy point for you about yourself?
You know what's funny that you say that is it's always been an insecurity of mine
Oh,
that, and it's something I actually overcame this week. It really was. I mean, like when I said to him, well, I think you should marry her, but I know you love me.
mm-hmm.
The next day when I woke up, I felt completely unburdened
Hmm.
in the sense that I guess I've always harbored this worrying about what people think of me and the things I say and what I do.
Mhm.
And to make a comment like that so many people would consider outrageous, like outrageous, right? Out of bounds.
Mhm.
Um, but I woke up the next morning and I was like, why waste time?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like I woke up and I was like, I've literally shed the fear of what people think about me. I mean, he could have taken that comment and been like, in the hell is she talking about? Like we haven't been, but I don't care.
Mhm.
Like I'm not hurting
And
you.
helping and trying to differentiate, and people have we have oh, hold on one second.
Is it your Instacart order? See how I injected
No,
humor?
you know what it is? It's an eBay auction. I just got out there. Hold on.
Oh, of course. Is it Beanie Babies? I have a shit ton of Beanie Babies. Does
Do
anybody
you?
want Beanie Babies in the
No,
audience?
I'm obsessed with antique Rorschach prints.
The
Yeah, the ones
mind
that
block,
are
the block.
actually from the books. And every once in a while people have them and they don't know what they are and they don't realize how valuable they are. And yeah.
Because I heard Horseshack, which is the guy from Falcon Beck Cotter. So I was lost for a second. Didn't realize there were
No, the
portraits.
ink blotter stuff.
Okay.
So
That
I
makes more
have
sense.
a couple. If you buy the whole book, like look at the original book on eBay, they're super expensive. But every once in a while, somebody will have like one of the pages
Right.
and they don't know
And they
what
don't know
they're
why
like,
they
they
have
don't
it. So
realize
they're
it's
like,
from the book. It's one of the original. Anyway, so I was upping my bid. But I'm
right. Because
only at 12.
you actually spoke in a previous episode about like how nebulas look like mind patterns or
They
like
do.
brain, and you find it interesting. So,
They do. In fact, I just did, oh, I'll send it to you.
okay.
Um, I did a little thing where I wrote some music and I did compare contrast pictures of nebulas and body images. Like so the blood system, pumping
Interesting.
blood, there's a certain and the neurons in the brain look just like
Space.
certain what? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That and
Like pulsing,
yeah,
like,
looks just like the space stuff and the MRIs look like nebula. Anyway. Yeah. So
okay,
anyway, that's what I was doing.
whole other topic.
And now I
Sorry.
forgot what I was saying.
So we were talking about the fact that I always had this insecurity about worrying
Oh
about
yeah.
what people thought about me because of what I said, and how I actually just recently got over that because I'm not going to waste my time on it anymore. Like I am who I am.
So,
I'm
okay,
not
so
for
going
everybody.
full
I'm not for
circle
everybody,
with
but I'm not here to
aging.
hurt anyone.
Yeah. So do you think like how we were talking about, I think some of our best qualities that maybe aren't the prettiest at times on the surface also help us as we embrace those, it increases our worthiness and it's also helps us weed out, bring new people in and weed out the old. For example, you and I have known each other for years, but we're just recently back in each other's lives. And I
Mhm.
do believe we all manifest that stuff. So here you got someone saying, well, I think that's the most worthy part of you. And I think that is a reflection of how you are sharing yourself too. What you're the people you're getting rid of and the people you're bringing in.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'll say this, like I fully, you know how sometimes you're friends with people out of habit,
Oh yeah.
like history, habit, um, uh, you cling to those things because you've known them for so long, and maybe they're a little
Mm-hmm.
safe, but you're really kind of not that it's
Yeah.
transactional. That's not what I'm saying, but you're
No, it's just
you're
different. I mean, people that you have
just not
history with,
fulfilling
you keep,
anymore.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
maybe you both evolved and changed, and you kind
sure.
of like, so when you get older, like we were talking about, one of my greatest blessings in 2024 was reconnecting with you.
Oh,
I'm serious. I really am. Because do you know what it's like? And this is something else people talk about. It's like when you find your people, right?
yeah.
Like when you
Mm-hmm.
find your people.
Mm-hmm.
And those people accept you, right? They celebrate you at your best
Yeah.
and they support you at your worst,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you're at your worst, which could be who knows what,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're still there. They
Mhm.
don't go, Jesus, she's being crazy. I'm not going to answer that text, like whatever,
Yeah.
like I have several friends, and I'm still blessed in the fact that I have several friends in my life who will, like just the other, like, what's today? Tuesday? Last night I got a fucking text I wasn't expecting.
You had a busy night.
I have had the craziest 2 weeks that I think I've ever had. And I literally don't know how to feel because it's never happened to me before. So it's like a new frontier. And I don't need new frontiers at 52, but this is what I'm doing. And so, like, I called my one friend, I mean, like, impulse, right? Like 9 o'clock at night on a Monday night. Everyone hates fucking Mondays. And I call her and she answers. And I
Yeah.
was like, hey, I'm like, I'm in a weird space. And she was like, okay. She goes, you know what? You're the only person I would take a call from at 9 o'clock on a Monday night,
Yeah.
because she's my person.
Yeah.
She's my person.
Yeah.
And, and, and we met in college, and we fell out of touch, and we came back together.
Mhm.
2024 was my year to come back together with
That's
people
interesting.
that are my people.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about it. I mean, 2024 had its other difficulties, as every year is going to have. But the blessing that came out of 2024 was reconnecting with people who are really my people. And we
Mhm.
and maybe we missed 20 or 30 years together, but we came back together at this point in time because I don't believe in coincidence.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
There's a great expression that is, coincidence only happens if the universe is being lazy.
Eleanor Roosevelt, though.
Eleanor Roosevelt. I didn't fucking say. But like, it, to me, like evolving and friendships and stuff like that, and people for a reason, a season, a lifetime, like all that.
Yep.
I came back in contact with people who, as we have aged
Yep.
and changed and gained wisdom,
Yep.
that in my 50s are my people. And for everyone I shed, I gained another one. And I gained another one who was more suited, compatible, like, you know what I mean? Like, jived better, like,
Mhm.
to my life as my life is now.
Mhm.
And I think, when we talk about aging, we talk about getting older, I think people should be open to the fact of making new friends later in life,
I think so, and
or reconnecting with people.
yeah, being
Um,
yep. Mhm.
there's wonderful people out there
Yep.
that are not the ones you've known for 40 years.
I know. And I love that. And I am so grateful that for what, by the way, you know who said that? The coincidence only happens when the universe is lazy.
Ooh,
Well, it's a fictional character,
it's okay.
Sherlock Holmes.
Fucking love Sherlock Holmes. Have you ever watched the one with Benedict Cumberbatch? It is so good.
It's like if Eleanor Roosevelt and Sherlock Holmes had a baby, it'd be you.
I'm not kidding. The side note, folks,
So
the
Ellen is Sherlock
Netflix
Holmes and Eleanor Roosevelt's love child.
Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock Holmes. That series is
I
fantastic.
probably Liz loves Sherlock Holmes and has seen all the series, so I'm sure I've seen it.
Well, you know that all the Sherlock Holmes stories originally were short stories,
This I know. Yeah.
and that's Sir, you know, Arthur Conan Doyle. They were
Yeah.
short stories. I'm telling you what, his mind and Agatha Christie's mind, oh, like, I wish I would have lived back then.
You
Like,
probably did.
fascinating shit. Just
You
fascinating
probably
shit.
did.
Agatha Christie was weird, man. And
Yeah.
she was weird way before women were allowed to be
Yeah.
weird.
I'm pretty sure
But
that she had some women on the side. She was
she
doing
was interesting. Well, you heard about, okay, not that I'm going to go into it, but you did hear about how, like, for 11 days in her life, she completely disappeared and no one could find her.
no.
And then she came back. There's a movie about it.
Hmm.
And I don't know if her husband wound up dead or they just divorced, but something happened. She's
Something nefarious
fascinating.
is up.
She's something is afoot. She's fascinating. But before I go off on a total fucking tangent, no, I don't believe in coincidence. I
Yep.
don't. I think everything, I think I do. I think things are tied. I do.
Yeah.
You might understand it at the time,
Hmm.
but I think something really weird happened to me today. Okay. And I'm going to share this because I found it really interesting.
Okay.
And both of my sisters were like, whoa.
Okay.
Um, my father died September 13th, 2015.
Okay.
Okay. And today, um, I was looking up a previous partner. I don't have that many people, I swear to God. Like, really, there's just two. But I was looking up because
Okay.
I had to for a certain reason, looked up a previous partner and his father's obituary came.
Okay.
Okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that he died.
Hmm.
And so I click on the obituary, and his father died September 13th, 2024. And I
Wow.
was like, that's weird.
Mm.
I don't believe in coincidence. I don't. That date holds so much for me.
Hmm.
And to see what I consider a connection or association,
Hmm.
or just an interesting, relevant happening,
Hmm.
I place stock in that. I do. I'm letting it all hang out tonight. I
Yeah.
mean, like,
I think I'm
ask me
chewing
whatever you want.
on what my mind's going a million miles a minute because I'm also
Mhm.
thinking, does our humanness judge what a coincidence is the same way the universe presents it?
Above my pay grade.
Like,
That's more your territory.
yeah, that's where I'm just like, you
We
know,
don't know why it's being presented.
no. Actually, I don't even think it's the fact it's the date, to be honest with you. I think it's about the feeling it creates. So you may see coincidence in the fact that I wore blue and you wore green. I might not see coincidence in there, but you might. But all that matters is that you have that feeling, and that's the feeling that you should pay attention to.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I read that,
Unless you're
when I-
psychotic. And then, well, not necessarily, because sometimes they see patterns and things that actually are right on the money. I'm very
you
confused.
cannot disregard patterns.
I know.
You can't. You
So
cannot.
maybe it's about, well, that's my head's blowing up right now because the concept of why do I do this at the end of I think I did this.
So unscripted.
I
You need
did
to take notes. You need to take notes because you always end with something that's super major and
where
then we
I'm
forget.
like, wait a second. Is it all a coincidence? But then if it is all a coincidence, then that often gets you hospitalized. But maybe if well, then you have to weed out whether you're okay. But yes, I absolutely agree with you. And I think if that feeling is there and you see that date or you see that color, um, just like anything else, being cautious and not going over to the land of
Connection.
magic. It's called magical thinking, is what I'm chewing on.
Oh,
So when
sweet.
it's extreme and you've attached patterns to everything, now you've lost your balance, right? But if
Right.
you're able to, and that's, I like those things, what you can go back to, which is, oh my gosh, we've talked about that so much, whether whatever it is, find the balance, and then that will keep you grounded in the information you're receiving.
Sherlock Holmes looks at patterns.
It's data. Data is kind of hard. That's why many people find comfort in math.
Okay, so I had one more quote and we can end with this. And this is actually one that I wanted to say at the very beginning. And it's also one of my
Do you
favorites.
know who it is?
Dr. Seuss.
Oh, he's one of my favorites too. Go ahead.
Because I was thinking about this week, right?
Hmm.
Dr. Seuss. I don't know which book it came from, and I don't know if he just said it because he was a genius.
Yep.
But those who matter don't mind. Those who mind don't matter.
Yep. I know that one. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you know why he was so wise to be able to say that? Because he was older. And he
Yeah.
had
Have
lived.
you read? I mean, he had a rough go as a young man.
I know I haven't.
Yeah, I'll send you. We'll get Eleanor's book. We'll get Dr. Seuss's book. You know, I think people who have gone through,
Trauma.
yeah, I mean, I was gonna label that, I wasn't gonna label that, whatever.
Well,
You have,
trauma, difficulty.
yeah, I mean, you choose what you do with that information. It makes you wiser or it handicaps you. And so the deeper the experience, the more wise you become or the more handicapped you become, but that's a
What was
choice.
his real name? It was Theodore Geis? No,
Mhm.
Theodore
Yeah.
Eisen, Theodore.
No,
He was
you're right.
fantastic, man.
Yeah, Theodore Seuss, Geisel. Yeah, yeah.
German.
Um, he had other pseudonyms, other pen names too. But I don't know what those are now, but
But what a genius. I mean, and that little quote, that's something that kids can ingest, right? Easily.
easily. Well, I
You don't have to
mean,
think about it too hard.
you know
They
what?
get it.
I'm gonna
They get it.
pull out my book and we should because let's talk about aging and how it also kind of brings you back down to the simplicity of childhood. So, but I'll bring, have you ever read the
Write
book?
it down.
Okay. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, look, that's not sharpened. That's not going to help.
You even have pencils? I don't think I have one pencil in this house. I got
Well,
pens.
because I still have a child that was, I still have Jack's school supply, you know, it's like the teacher would be, everybody needs to bring 26,000 pencils and I couldn't bear
And they
to,
have to be sharpened and have your initials on them. Yeah,
yeah,
whatever. Try again, honey. It's not gonna happen.
it's not going to happen. And I don't have a pen, but I'm going to, oh, I can just put, I don't need a pen.
You have a phone.
Okay.
Everything is solved. You have a phone.
All right. I won't even say I'm going to bring it up and then we'll look at it when I read it.
So you said age
I
and
got it. So and the correlation with how the circle of life, you know, how when we when we come back to aging, how
Lion King reference.
that is how that kind of comes, you know, full circle in regard to the beauty of simplicity. So I'm not
Great.
going to tell you what the title of the book is. You might know it when I read from it, but we'll read from it. And one of our other topics, and I'm going to let you know because I'm going to say it right here, and I'm writing it down. I think we should talk about polyamorous relationships.
I would love to. And
Okay.
not because I have any personal experience with it, but I can think of
Well,
someone
it made
who
me
would
think of
love that.
but it made me think of what you said. You can love more than one person. What does that look like?
Yep.
We've touched on it a little bit when we talked. I forget, we talked about it when we talked about the motivations as to why you bring somebody in. And that, you know,
I
that's
want
a,
to hear what you have to say.
okay.
I do.
All
Of
right, I gotta go cook. It's Taco Tuesday. Gotta go.
course it is. I'm
And
alone. Everyone's at work, and it's fantastic. Just so y'all know.
I got hungry people.
I have no people, and it's wonderful. Okay. You wrote your stuff down.
I
We're
did. I
good.
wrote it down. Well, I put it, you know, I did it on the phone.
Don't forget that it's in your phone. I'll remind you. I'll text
Okay,
you.
all right, okay, all
Okay,
right.
son.
You know what, Ellen? Reconnecting with you is one of my happiest 2024 moments.
We're having a moment. No, I'm serious. It makes me so happy.
Yep.
It really
Well,
seriously
see, you
does.
were doing something that you loved, and it brought in people that, well, it's bringing in a lot of people that are good for you and good for me.
I agree.
Yeah,
Which means we need to keep going.
I know. I think we have 200 something subscribers now, right?
302.
Really? Jeez. You only need 1,000 to start getting attention from uh uh brands. You'll have
Well,
to,
we just need to make the t-shirts first.
So many
Gonna
t-shirts.
contact my niece who's
Oh my
she's on it.
lord,
She's on it.
merch. All right, bye.
Bye.